on Zoom. Anyway, we're live. Welcome to my show once again on this lovely Friday, June the 10th, 2022. We're joined by, as some people say, a legend, while myself and many other people probably call him the GOAT of commentary. The GOAT, as I would say, because he is a GOAT. He is the best combat sports commentator in the world. It's a privilege to finally have on Mike Goldberg on my show. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. I am, I guess, long overdue as one of your guests. And
yes,
I thought at first when you said some people would say legend, that you were thinking, no, he's not. He's like some average dude. He needs to work on his skills. So thank you for continuing that sentence. I appreciate it, Edward.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. And, it's a privilege to have you on the show because, you've been around as long as I've been around. So, longer than I've been around. So we thank you so much for your work in the combat sports world, especially on the video games you've been involved with so far. And, you're with the "Here we go," the great catchphrase of them all. And how did you get that catchphrase to begin with? Where did it come from? Did it come straight away to you, or did it come over time after doing it for so many years?
First of all, not only do I love doing fights, be it back in the UFC with Bellator, soon to be with BYB. My boss Mike Vasquez is there for the big BKB event tomorrow night. But I love things like straight away. I love that, just so you know. It's proper English, so I appreciate that. It did not come straight away. I was one of those, Edward, who early in my career, I looked up to other broadcasters, and at times I tried to emulate them. And when I got to ESPN in the mid-'90s, Bill Clement, a hockey announcer at the highest level, took me under his wing. And he was one of my idols already, not just as a player, but more so as a broadcaster, because I've played hockey since age 5, so well before you were born.
Yeah.
And he said, Goldie, take a little from everybody, but be yourself. Be yourself. Don't try to be, at the time the Blackhawks had an announcer named Pat Foley, and Gary Thorne was on ESPN doing the NHL with Bill Clement. And so I started to try to take the best of everything and come up with my own play-by-play style. And one show, just out of the blue, I said, here we go. It's finally here. Here we go. And it wasn't with kind of the tone that everybody or many around the world recognize it as. And then I watched that show back and I was like, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. And it just caught on. And the funniest thing about Here We Go is, I guess I was so loud, even in a crowded building.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Fertitta, the big boss, Lorenzo was about 4 seats down. He would generally sit next to Dana. So around the corner from Joe and I, and when like a main event, Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo, here we go. And Lorenzo used to look at me like, dang, dude, you're loud. and that's how it happened. And that's how it happened. And It's All Over was the same. Yeah. It's all over. It is all over. And then I was like, okay, that sounded pretty cool. And the fans, much like you just brought up, reacted to it. And I'm like, hey, if it's working and if people are enjoying it more so than anything, I'm going to stick with it. And, it was always, we'll see you next time inside the octagon. Yeah. And now it's, we'll see you next time inside the Trigon. So it works out perfectly with my affiliation with BYB and, of course, our partnership with you guys in the UK at BKB.
Yeah, exactly. And I must say as well, after, of course, you've, left UFC and left Bellator, so you're not really on the main stage again, really over here on the video games, everything like that. So I do like enjoying, going back to the old UFC games and just hearing you saying, here we go, 3 rounds of the UFC or whatever it might be, or, and it's all over type thing. But like with the Bruce Buffer with it's time type thing.
That's it, it's time.
Yeah, exactly. And I do miss, and I'm sure you probably miss it as well, being involved with UFC and Bellator as well. But as you say, you're part of the BYB Extreme now, a great group of people as well. And
Yes.
how did all that happen? And will you be coming to the UK? I think it's coming in October, isn't it, when they come to the UK?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I cannot wait. I will mind the gap. And I will go to some proper pubs. My wife and I, we love London, and we love, like I said, doing shows in the UK. The fans are just so passionate, as you well know. Like doing fights in Ireland, doing fights in the UK. It's a different type of magic. It's a different type of emotion. And now that, hopefully most of this pandemic is behind us, we'll have a full crowd. And we'll have a full crowd from the UK that probably had a cocktail or two and are ready to go when we have our first two fighters walk to the Trigon. I was a victim of the sale at the UFC. And, some people think it was more Dana or this and that. It really wasn't. I mean, there's always a percentage that has to do with Lorenzo leaving and new ownership coming in. But I was one of about 150 people who were let go when the sale occurred, because it was a $4.2 billion buy by the new owners. And their first interest payment was about $170 million.
Wow.
All the VPs. I was almost a victim of my own longevity. Of course, I'm the one everybody talks about, which is very kind, but because I was the one who came into everybody's living room, as you know. And so that's where that part of it comes. Made the move to Bellator, Scott Coker, working with Big John now next to me instead of inside as the referee. Absolutely a blast. Absolutely a blast, and enjoyed it thoroughly. And then Bellator went to Showtime. I had done probably 30 straight Bellators. Coker and I are still so close.
That's good.
Big John was my first mentor. But once they moved to Showtime, Mauro Ranallo's already a full-time employee there. So, all right, we're going to have Mauro do that. He can also do the MMA. And I found myself looking for the next adventure. And a couple of years ago, Mike Vasquez invited me down to a show. It was May of, I guess, 2 years ago now, or coming up on 2 years. So about a year and a half ago. And I just came as a fan. And I wanted to meet Mike. Mel Valenzuela, our great matchmaker, is a good friend of mine. And he had connected Mike and I. And Mike was very kind, along with Dada, in that, man, if we could get Goldie, if we could get Mike Goldberg, there's an instant validation that comes with the voice of Goldie on our product. And I came down very humbly. I go by that locker room mentality. New team, Edward, is, I could be Sidney Crosby, but if all of a sudden I'm playing for the Florida Panthers, I walk into that locker room as a guest. And that's how I approached it with Mike. And we hit it off. And he's like, man, can you do the next event? And I said, absolutely. Because I loved it. I love the concept. I believe that the bare knuckle genre of combat sports is the next genre to take off. Very similar to what I was blessed to enjoy. And that is that journey of, being the soundtrack with Joe as the UFC and MMA went across the globe and took over.
Yeah.
Bare knuckle is going to do the same thing. People love knockouts, as you know. People love confrontation, as my good friend BJ Penn used to say. Like Randy would always say, I love the competition. And BJ would always say, I agree, but I like the confrontation. So BJ knows what it's all about. And it was a perfect match. Al Bernstein had already done some shows. So I knew that Mike Vasquez and Dada were serious about their product, because if you have an Al Bernstein there, that's credibility. And the one that I visited, Edward, happened to be Paulie Malignaggi's first show. Wow. And he had his exit from Showtime. So I guess we were the Showtime twins. But I really like Paulie. I love his work. And when I saw him at the table, it just added to my excitement. And now Paulie and I do a ton together. We're on the Pro Box TV assignment together, as well as my powerful partner. Benny Ricardo's awesome. Claudia Trejos is a wealth of boxing and now bare knuckle boxing knowledge. She's about to be inducted into the Florida Boxing Hall of Fame in the next week. And then next month, there are a couple, it's next month, Mike Vasquez, Dada, and Mel Valenzuela are going into the Bareknuckle Hall of Fame in upstate New York. All honors well-deserved. And so it really was hitting it off with Mike and me loving watching the competition inside the Trigon, because it's not tough, man. There's a lot of tough men and a lot of really tough women, but there's a lot of skill in there as well. Now, if you get hit, it's going to end pretty quickly, as you know.
Yeah.
But there's some skills. There are some serious skills, especially like a Barry Jones that we saw in our Trigon dominate so quickly. I watched the features. They're boxers who now have taken off the gloves and they continue to enjoy the confrontation. So that's how I became involved with Bareknuckle. I told Mike, there's no shallow end of the pool when it comes to myself and wanting to do projects. And I want to be on this journey with you and our BYB family. And it keeps getting better and better every day. We're coming to see you in October. And I couldn't be happier. I love doing the events. There's an excitement to it. And as much as I understand and respect the ground game, I trained Muay Thai for a long time. I like stand-up and I like finishes, because if there's a finish, I get to say it is all over.
Yeah.
Just like that. So it's really been a great relationship. And I really believe with what Mike has been working on and his team the past number of months, that we are very close to really taking over and gaining the command of the Bareknuckle world, along with our partnership with BKB. I think we're going to be unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely, and I hope you'll be there for many, many years to come, and to hopefully, as you said before, take Bareknuckle, from where it is right now into a global, fan base, into a global, what's it called, marketplace, like the UFC has done, of course, because with Bareknuckle as well, there is no gloves, there is no, protective gear, it is all, bare, exactly in the name.
Yes.
So I was quite intrigued to know what, persuaded you to go into that kind of sport, because, in the mixed martial arts, they're wearing gloves, so you may not see the blood on their hands or their knuckles, but in the Bareknuckle world, you may see that, because it's more brutal, but the fans do love it, and we can't wait to see you in London in October. But I mean, have you ever had the chance? You probably have at times before, but you probably don't come here very often. But I mean, what do you do when you come to places like, for instance, Manchester, UK, for instance, the home of Michael Brisbane?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that was one of the most enjoyable fights that I ever called, was when Michael beat Luke Rockhold and then went home to fight as the champion.
Yeah.
And because of Michael holding the belt and us wanting to keep the time at 10 in the East, 7 in the West, back in North America, in the US for our pay-per-view time, we started really late. We started at a very odd time. With the broadcast in Manchester.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, we want to get my wife and I went to London for a week afterwards. We're like, you know what? We're going to get off the air about 4 a.m. We can literally be packed. We can go right to the train station, take the train to London, and we're off. Our vacation started. Now, I forgot at that time that there were thousands of very happy and somewhat intoxicated fans, very polite,
yes,
that we're all taking that same train to London. So we get there, and it's like, humbly, I get mobbed.
Yeah.
I get mobbed, and the officers that were there at the train station, they were just so cool. They pulled my wife over. She brought the luggage, sat it right next to them. And I enjoy that. I mean, I do this for the fans. I do this for the fighters. I want to represent the fighters properly, because the hard work and commitment it takes to be successful at any martial art, any combat sports, is immeasurable. You and I both know that. So it's all about representing the fighters, but it's about you. It's about the next fan next door, one at a time, entertaining the fan, being enthusiastic. And they were enthusiastic and they were happy to see me. So it was fun, man. It was fun. It took we were there about an hour before the train left. And then one guy said, Goldie, I hope they put you in first class, because if not, I I'm going to talk to them. And I think we are. I don't know. We bought it. It was an absolute blast. So in Manchester, that was it. I have this thing, Edward, for the double-decker bus tours. I don't know why. They're just my thing. They're my thing. I'm so OCD that I can't just walk to one place or another and read something, or sometimes a good guide. I'll take a good walking tour with a good guide. But on the bus, like I put my like little earpieces they give. Oh, yeah. I usually bring my own because the ones on the buses are pretty basic because I want to hear. And so I get like a history lesson. So I'm not a historian by nature, but when I get to something historic, I can't get enough of it. So it's funny that I'm on with you right now, because I said to Fernanda, my wife, we were looking at booking flights already for October. It's like, well, when do we want to get there? You know, weigh-ins are Friday, fighter meetings are Friday, fight is on Saturday. You want a day to recover? And I said, yeah, and I need a day for the double-decker bus. So it's amazing. I've done everything in London. I've enjoyed musicals. My daughter's an actress. She's done some Broadway. She's done some television. So I have a real love and appreciation for that. I've taken in the pubs. I was very blessed to go to the House of Parliament and get kind of a behind the scenes tour.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was cool. I met a dude who married an American girl that we had known for years from Hawaii. Okay. And his parents were very close with Margaret Thatcher. Like, right. Okay. Yeah. So he was driving around like they're waving this dude in. Like, come on, you know, there's, you know, eight rows of security. And they're like, yo, Donnie, come over here, get over here. And we're just sitting in the car going, oh, okay, I'm in. So I like doing all of that. And, you know, if it's a nice day, which, you know, if it's one of your 7 nice days in a year with visibility, we'll get on the London Eye and we'll spin around and enjoy that as well. So cool. I like being a tourist, and oftentimes we extend our trips as well once we're over there. And the plan right now after the fight is my wife's never been to Amsterdam. Okay. So I think I've been there a couple of times, and I think the trip from London to Amsterdam will be post-fight. Then we'll come home after a few days in Amsterdam, which is really all you need. It's like Vegas. You only need a few days. Yeah, you can only take a few days.
And as well, it's a good way to, you know, calm down from the fight, because because you know, like the fighters are probably, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Where after they fight, they've still got all that energy, you know, they've got all that momentum. Yes. And I'm sure that's pretty much the same for you after, you know, a big show, a big fight, whatever it may be. You know, it probably takes you a bit of a while to calm down, to get back into your, you know, when you're home, kind of relaxation.
Yes. There's no question. I take a lot of pride in my preparation. It's another thing that Bill Clement taught me way back. And he said, Goldie, when you think you're prepared, do another half hour of reading articles, watching, whatever it is, you know, looking at bios, take another half hour on that particular fighter or player, and then put it aside, or it will just become minutia and you'll start to confuse yourself. My bios are detailed, but when that little moment comes, and, you know, Barry Jones, I don't know if he has children. He may. I don't have his bio up right now, but I can tell you if he does, I have it on my bio and I know what age they are. And so when little Barry Jones or someone's son comes up, oh, that's 4-year-old Edward. Edward, you know, da-da-da-da, and that's the wife, Suzanne. I take a lot of pride in those little nuggets that most of the time just stay on that piece of paper. But when you can nail it, and it's an emotional moment, like with a dad with his kid, and I mean, I watched Callum grow up with Michael Bisping. And so I remember the first time he was allowed to corner him. And so watching that, being a father myself, is an enjoyable part. So pre-fight, I'm in a lot of lockdown mode. I would never do something like a fight like this and go to Amsterdam first and then come and do the fight, even if I left myself plenty of time to prepare, because I would be squeamish. I wouldn't be able to relax and enjoy it, because I'd be like, there's bios to be done. There's prep to be done. I need to hit a certain point in my mind mentally, printed to a certain degree, to feel like, all right, here we go, put on the headset. Now I'm ready to have a great show. So post-fight is definitely the way for me, much like it is for fighters. They work their way up. They get through that tough cut. They weigh in, they make weight, they rehydrate, they fight, and then they take a well-deserved couple of days off.
Yeah, most definitely. And, it's a great way to go away. And hopefully your wife will enjoy Amsterdam if you decide to go after the fight in October. But let's talk about this because, you're everywhere. And we should mention, I don't think this gets, as you say, plugged a lot for you. But you can, very active on social media. We have been showing your social media off and on in this little chat called. You can find them on Twitter, Goldie on TV, and also the same on Instagram as well.
Yes.
And I appreciate you for sharing the my story and your story on Instagram yesterday. Well, earlier this morning.
My pleasure. Yes. Thank you. You sent it to me. Hey. It's official.
Yeah.
Hey, he shared it to his story. Goldie's not going to stand me up. He's on the hook now.
Yeah.
And I was never going to, and even if that wasn't posted, I was never going to stand you up, my brother. So, but yes, I did share it to my story. So thank you for noticing.
No, it's good. I did react to it. Give you a fire emoji over there on Instagram.
Thank you.
But no, it's good to have you on this show.
Thank you.
Because you are the GOAT, and when on Wikipedia, the great place, you don't always listen or even read on there, but it does say your age, and I'm quite surprised at your age because when you started in the UFC, for instance, when you figured your TV exposure, you were quite young, and you're not really aged really. You still got all your hair. Which is great to see. It's still the same as it was in the 90s. It's not gone grey. So you're doing a very good job at that. And hopefully, in another 30 years...
Someone helps me with that. Well, my wife always says, hey, babe, you look good, like distinguished salt and pepper. And I tell her, if I start to go salt and pepper, it's going to be all salt real quickly. So we always have a good laugh about it. But I do appreciate the kind words in it. And it's crazy to think that my first ever UFC was December 21st, 1997.
Wow.
And I started in broadcasting in 1986, the year that I graduated from college. So I would say that makes me a veteran, not old.
I will say...
No, you didn't say that. I'm just having fun with it.
Oh no!
Now, experienced, and blessed to still be doing it, Edward. And in addition to our BYB Extreme, I'll move a little bit. I don't know if everybody can see behind me, but I've got pictures of my Pro Box team, and my Pro Box partners are Paulie Maldonado. So we do BYB and Pro Box TV. My other two broadcast partners are Superman, Roy Jones Jr., and the other Magic Man. Paulie's starting to call himself Magic Man Mini, or was it Magic Man Light? Magic Man Light, because I said Mini the other day on the podcast, and I thought, okay, that Magic Man Light. So Magic Man Antonio Tarver is also part of the broadcast team, and our first main event was about a month ago, and it was Jean Pascal returning to the ring, and he took on Mong Fan Long, which was a tremendous light heavyweight battle. A light heavyweight, one being a southpaw, the other orthodox, in a high-profile fight. So we had a lot of fun with Roy and Antonio on that subject. It's like, you guys can't relate at all, right? And so we had some great laughs with that. And here's what I'll tell you about Mike Vasquez, which is why BYB, with our partnership with BKB, why we're going to take over. Because he's a humble, caring, family-first human being. And so his thought process on that is you and Paulie doing Pro Box and then doing BYB, that just is more validation that you two, along with Roy and Antonio, you two are going to become the broadcast team to watch now in the boxing genre as opposed to the MMA genre. And that's Mike's view of it, and it means a lot to me, and it just makes me dig deeper and want to make him proud, and then take that level of pride up another level each show for Mike personally, and of course for our BYB Extreme family. So it's fun. You talked about the blood, and I think Kenny Florian, when he threw the elbow against Sean Shirk from the bottom, and then told me a couple days later that he still had the taste of like iron in his mouth from swallowing all of Shirk's blood. I know it was gross, but those elbows sliced. So I have seen it. So the bare knuckle world can be bloody, but it's not nearly as bloody as what I saw back in the UFC because of the slicing elbows more so than anything. Yeah. It's those elbows that instantly open somebody up. The oldest form of combat sports is bare knuckle boxing, the oldest form. So when you look at it from that regard, it's a rebirth of the pioneer part of boxing and combat, if you will. And I've also said a couple of times, Edward, that it took people a long time as our UFC journey continued to grow. It took fans a long time to kind of understand the blood, because you don't see it in boxing very often, at least not at the level you saw it in MMA. And I believe that MMA and the UFC and Bellator, that they kind of buffered the world, if you will, for the rebirth of bare knuckle. Yes, blood is still going to bother some people. Don't get me wrong. I've had it on my tie, my jacket, and my notes the last 3 fights. Wow. Put them in a plastic bag. They go right to the dry cleaners. Not the first time it's happened. So it's happened at the UFC.
So you don't put them on your wall, because I'm guessing this is your man cave. So you don't put them on your wall as like a memorable thing that you come back in years and go say, oh yeah, that's the time when that happened.
Well, if I did that, I'd have a really bloody wall, and I'd have to buy a lot of new shirts. Yeah, that's I have thought about that with some of my notes before, my bio pages that are kind of smudged with blood, and I have a great seat, and then at times you feel like it's not the greatest. I will tell you the one time it kind of got me is Joe wasn't there, and I can't remember who I might have been doing the show with Brian Stan back in the day. And they had me do the interviews in the octagon afterwards. And I remember interviewing a fighter who had just won, and, a little spit coming off and going on the microphone. I was all good, but the blood was rolling down like kind of here. And the blood was going on the microphone. And I was just like, all right, I'm a hockey player. I can deal with this. It's okay. Like, it's all right. That was a little gross. And it was funny at the last BYB, literally the doctor was sitting next to me, and the doc pulled out all the alcohol wipes and wiped down my headset, wiped down around my notes, wiped everything down and sanitized it for me. And then after the next fight, he sanitized it again, which is all good. Yeah.
That's funny.
My iPads, everything were just drenched, but in a good way. Good way.
It's good you got got good people around you to make sure you look the best you can look on TV, and it's a good thing, and hopefully they do get some credit themselves as well for helping you out, and of course your other colleagues as well. But before we let you go, Mike Goldberg, I hope you come back on the show again soon, because we can talk,
anytime.
We can talk all day. You got some great
stories.
Yes,
indeed.
And we get to see the real side of you, by the way, because on TV we don't get to see your humor side. We just see the straight talking, right to the action, with the as we said before, the most famous catchphrases in the world. And we had on Big Mo, of course.
He's cool. Yep.
Of course, he's I think the only ring announcer in the world to wear sunglasses in the triangle. So that's
we've had that discussion.
Interesting.
Not in a bad way. More like what motive. This is actually great. I really quickly, because Mo, I like Mo a lot. I like Cody a lot, and I truly do. He's a very, very humble and very respectful young man. I don't look at us as any different, but there were people who took me under their wing back then. And I've happily, started in Cody's mind as well as mine, taking him under my wing. And he's a sponge. Like, Goldie, man, you've been doing this forever. What do you think? What do you think? So my wife had said something about the glasses. And I said, I've never asked him. When you see him next show, when you meet him, why don't you ask? So it was Cody, my wife, Fernanda, Mel Valenzuela, and myself. We had gone to dinner in Biloxi. And we're about a half hour in, and I look at Nanda and I go, "You're gonna ask him?" And Cody's kind of like, Big Mo. He's like, "Ask me what?" And he knew what he was gonna be asked, right? Yeah. "You gonna ask him?" And she goes, What's with the sunglasses?" In a nice way. Nanda was just like, "What? Why does that separate you from others, or does that come off the wrong way?" I think it works. He's had them on and off. Now, I'm like, dude, you're 6'6", you're 6'7". Like you already have a presence in your size and your stature. And he said, and this is a great reaction. He said, "You know what? Sometimes you can't tell I'm 6'6" or 6'7" on television. You do know I'm the guy in the sunglasses." And we were like, whoa, 1-0 Big Mo. All right. He leads 1-0. But he does a great job.
He does.
It's a great point. Yeah. It's a great point.
Yeah, he does a great job.
Yeah, he really does do a great job.
He is, yeah. And go on.
And he wants to get better. And I was just going to compliment Big Mo even more so. Not only does he do a great job, but he wants to be better, not just every show, every single fight, every weigh-in, everything that he does, he wants to improve every single rep. And I respect that. He played college football, played high-level college football. So, there's that competitiveness in his soul. And there's that humbleness that knows that hard work beats talent. When talent refuses to work hard, he happens to be really talented. So if he works hard, he's going to rise to the very top.
Absolutely.
And at 6'6", he can look down at everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, and then if anyone wants to try him, he can probably knock him out.
No question. Definitive reach advantage.
There you go. There we go. That's a classic line. I like it. All here on this kept secret on YouTube. One quick question for you. You haven't got long to answer, but who would you recommend me to have on the show after the GOAT of commentary, Mike Goldberg?
Man, you know what? I love listening to Paulie Malignaggi. Now, if you're looking from a BYB genre, Paulie Malignaggi is the best boxing analyst, I believe, in the business, which he takes over to the side of bare knuckle boxing. Someone who really impressed me with his leopard and everything is the Shark, Mark Irwin. And he's a fun interview. I don't know if he's going to be on the card in October. I hope he is for the UK fans.
Yeah.
He can do the Connor, if you will, but he's very intelligent. And by the way, so is Connor. I mean, he made a lot of money doing it. But Mark's got a little of that in him. But then when you get him away from that, he's just a class act to speak to. So he would be a great guy to have on. And man, as you move forward and you look at the boxing world, Mark Irwin is one of our great fighters. And then whoever may be representing us in the UK, because I know it's going to be an honor. Desmond Green is going to fight for a title forthcoming against Gabriel Fryer. It's going to be our first middleweight title. Jose Fernandez is putting his belt on the line against Sam Liera. We've got a lot of great personalities, but one that hit me real recently is Mark Irwin. He's going to be around. So if you get a hold of the Shark, and Don Povia can help you do so, trust me, you'll have a lot of laughs, and he will be dressed appropriately. I can guarantee you that.
Thank you very much, Mike Goldberg. It's been a pleasure being on the show, and I hope you have a great weekend as well, whatever you may be up to. And there'll be a clip coming out of this on my social media. I'll tag you in as well. It's come out tomorrow as well. But it's been a pleasure having the GOAT of combat sports on the show. Have a great day.
Thank you very much. Let's talk before the show in October. I look forward to meeting you in person when I make it to the UK in October. And I'll do it for you, my friend. This interview right now is all over. Just
love it.
That. See you, mate.
Love it. See you in a bit. Thank you so much, Mike.
Of course.
And that's it. Thank you for tuning in. We're back in a week or so with another interview with hopefully a music star. So can't wait for that. Until then, enjoy the rest of your Friday night or afternoon.